Hi, everyone. It's the Beauty Shaman, and I'm back today with one of my very favorite people and cleanses. It's great. Her name is Julie. I thought I would bugger that up. Can you say it? Pelaeth. Pelaeth. I
You
did
said
it. Oh my
it.
God, I'm so talented. Okay, Pelaeth and Joe Shaman wrote a book called The Conscious Cleanse. Lose weight, heal your body, and transform your life in 14 days. I love this cleanse. I use this cleanse. I do it about once a year, sometimes twice a year. It's my very favorite cleanse. I've done lots of them. It works. Let's talk about it. Hi, Jules.
Hi, Suzanne. You're also one of my favorite people, and you know I love talking with you. So thank you for having me.
We always have so much fun. I know you and I, we go at it, right? We definitely connect. So that's great. So this is a great cleanse. And I think that there's a lot of kind of misinformation about cleanses, I feel like, especially for the women in the audience who are over 40, 40, 50, 60 and up. Cleanses become like, really, does this work? Does it help? You know, there's some sort of misunderstandings around it. So I want to just start with that about just, you know, your ideas, your kind of platform on cleanses, I guess.
Well, it's a great place to start because most people hear the word cleanse and they automatically think calorie restriction. They
Right.
think only juice or lemon and cayenne pepper. They think being chained to the toilet or
Yeah.
having to choke on expensive supplements.
Yeah.
Nothing that sounds very appealing. And in fact, we are the opposite. And with the conscious cleanse, we're trying to get people off of the diet roller coaster mentality,
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a slippery slope because you could think cleanse and think very easily cleanse mentality or diet mentality, but really what the conscious part of the conscious cleanse is learning how to eat for your specific body, for your specific health challenges, for your specific likes and dislikes. You know, we're all so different and we really don't believe that there's one size fits all. And a lot of programs out there do really promote, you know, this works for me, therefore it must work for you. And
Right.
that's just not the experience. And so we really teach people how to hone in and to find the food that works best in their body.
I think that's great. And it's a really mature perspective. And I think especially as women get older, you know, I remember in my 20s, I mean, I was always trying to be thin because I was a model. And I mean, the amount of like diets I tried and all this stuff, trying to maintain it. And now I'm like, no, let's just chill. Let's figure out exactly what works. So I love that. It's a much more mature, kind of stable, balanced view of health. So that's
Yeah.
great.
And
Go
it's
ahead.
really about long-term sustainability.
Right.
So I think as women, a lot of us have experimented with food, really kind of going after what will give me that slim and trim figure.
Right.
And meanwhile, we're working our butts off at the gym. And a lot of times it doesn't add up. It's
Right.
not necessarily a calorie in, calorie out situation.
Right.
Food is medicine, and food can also be working against us and sabotaging us, even if it falls into the healthy category. I was under that guise for a very long time. I started experimenting with food when I was probably as early as 14,
Yeah.
and I finished the Thanksgiving, feast, fell asleep under the table, woke up 45 minutes later and was like, what in the world just happened? Why did that food put me to sleep? You know, of course we know that as a food coma, but
Right.
I just thought that was so bizarre.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with the consciousness idea. So you bringing, you know, I think this is great. It's called conscious cleanse because you're bringing in an awareness around food and a consciousness with it and asking those kind of questions like, why do I feel tired all the time? Well, what am I eating that's causing that? And how am I? So let's talk about the consciousness aspect because I think that really sets this apart. Such a unique approach. And so I want to kind of go there a little bit more on the consciousness aspect.
Yeah, so I mentioned how I started experimenting with food at 14. When I was 17, I decided to give up meat, and I grew up in Kansas with a meat eating, dairy loving family. and you know, it was, you know, like, well, that wasn't the 80s, but my mom was a dieter, you know, snack wells and fat free, and we went through all the different fads. And I remember doing aerobics with her, and you know, we had a health, somewhat of a health conscious mentality, but again, we were eating, you know, a lot of meat and a lot of dairy. So anyway, when I was 17 or so, I decided to become a vegetarian. And this was like one of my first escapades of, you know, food experimenting. And I've actually continued to be mostly a vegetarian. Again, I eat right for my body type, depending on where I am. So that means incorporating fish from time to time. But when I went, you know, it was basically about more than a decade under being, you know, trying to be a healthy vegetarian. So I was eating soy at almost every single meal, soy protein for breakfast, soy milk, edamame, tofu, thinking that this was a healthy food for a vegetarian. You know, you think, oh, I got to get my protein.
Yeah.
Where do you get your protein as a vegetarian? You get it from soy. So as it turned out, when my partner and I created the Conscious Cleanse, we implemented this food testing phase. And I thought, well, I don't have food allergies. I don't have food sensitivities. This is a great concept for you guys, but it doesn't apply to me. Well, actually, it does apply to me. And it did apply to me. I discovered that actually I was eating way too much soy. And it was the reason for my bloating, for my acne, and for my terrible stomach aches and bloating and cramping and things like that. So again, going back to your question, the conscious part is putting food in your body and then questioning it and asking yourself, how does this food make me feel? Does it make me feel tired? Does it make me feel gassy? Do I feel a little brain foggy?
Right.
You know, is it putting me to sleep? You know, like, what is it? And really, basically looking at your body and what you eat as a giant experiment with curiosity. That's what the conscious part is all about.
Right. And I think that's wonderful. And part of the cleanse, I mean, maybe we should talk a little bit about the cleanse itself. It is a 14-day cleanse. And so in that time frame, you basically eat very specific foods. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. I think, you know, a lot of people think, oh, great, I'm going to like have to juice every day and 3 meals. You know, you kind of, I mean, I've heard of a lot of crazy cleanses. Okay. And if people are like me, I've done them. Okay.
And you try them. Yes. Yeah.
I have totally tried them. But if you're like me, you know, and you too, right? You get up, you push the go button. I always think the go button's right here. I push the go button and I am on and going all day long, right? I'm active, so are you. And I think of a cleanse, I think, okay, I have to stop moving. You know, there's all these kind of ideas around cutting things out. So let's talk about that and maybe some specifics more about what the cleanse spells out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what is the yes, you know, the foods that we put on our plate during the conscious cleanse. I mentioned that it's not one size fits all. So if you're someone and you know that you thrive on animal protein, you're going to eat wild fish, organic lean cuts of meat. This could be chicken, it could be turkey, it could be even wild game. So things like bison. For other people, they maybe are trying to get away from eating so much protein. We have some people who come to the cleanse like me who are a little bit more vegetarian or vegan based. And so we're going to, you know, lean towards the legumes, the nuts, the seeds. You might be someone who's like, you know what, I'm always craving carbs. I love pasta. I love croissants. You might be someone who's going to really focus on eating the non-gluten grains. And getting, you know, those types of carbs that way. So it's all about finding what works for you. The common denominator of all of those different types is veggies. So we like to say that, you know, think about veggies being the center of your food universe and then complement it or supplement it with the other things. So the other, you know, the proteins or the carbohydrates and the animal protein and things like that. So on the cleanse, we like to start our day with lemon water because it's very cleansing and detoxifying. Is that something that you're still doing?
I've got it. Wait, it's right here. Here you go. I love my lemon water. It's my favorite part of my day. I get up and make my lemon water. So yeah.
We love our lemon water. It's very detoxifying. It's going to help you release whatever was kind of processed and stirred up overnight, because we do a lot of cleansing naturally when we sleep. It's high in vitamin C. It's alkalizing. It's a really, it's a great way to start the day. It's going to be hydrating, which we also need first thing in the morning.
Right.
Breakfast is typically a green smoothie. And for those of you who might be watching this, maybe you're like, well, I've heard of this green smoothie thing, but what exactly is it? What we mean by that is making a smoothie that has as many dark leafy greens stuffed into it as you can possibly manage. And so that's just a really great way to get in an extra 2 or 3 servings of dark leafy greens that maybe you wouldn't. And they taste delicious. People are always surprised. You put things like almond milk or coconut water as the base. You put some mango, maybe a banana. I like to put in cilantro and lime, and then you stuff it to the brim with spinach and blend that up. And it's 32 ounces. It's pretty filling. So that's kind of breakfast. Some people prefer a much more hearty breakfast. So when Joe and I were originally creating the program, and still sometimes, she'll have her green smoothie, and then a half hour to an hour later, she might have a little bit of salmon. So she needs a little bit more protein for her brain in the morning. And then lunch and dinner is, like I mentioned, fill your plate with 2/3 veggies, and then supplement it with whatever that protein is that you thrive on. For me, it might be some roasted chickpeas, which are delicious in the oven, all on top of a gigantic salad. And I'm not talking about, a small little salad. I'm talking about like the serving size bowl, and you fill that up with veggies. It could be dark leafy greens. It could be sprouts. It could be fresh, radishes, cucumbers. It's delicious to put roasted beets or roasted zucchini. You keep it interesting, keep it fresh, put a really make it hearty with a great salad dressing, an avocado, that sort of thing. Right. This is obviously one of my favorite topics. I could keep talking about food.
Well, I love all that stuff too. And I like experimenting and trying different things in new smoothies, and let me try this. And, I'm tuned into my body. So we do have to point out that this is a no caffeine, no sugar, no gluten, like you really cut out processed sugars. And I think, I don't know if, you're like me. Well, I'd like 1 cup of coffee a day. I have one, this isn't coffee, actually, this is lemon water, but I have 1 cup of coffee a day typically, and that's as far as I go. But a lot of people, they're constantly downing that coffee. And so the idea of going off of coffee and going off of sugar, which are those pick-me-ups, right? So maybe we could go there a little bit, like, how do people normally experience this and deal with that?
Right. So there is a section in our book and in our program where we talk about the foods that we keep off of our plate. And it's a lot of those things that you mentioned, like gluten and dairy, even pork and beef we're keeping off our plate. We're keeping off shellfish and eggs, even some citrus fruits. And then there's the soy, the caffeine, the alcohol, the recreational drugs, the tobacco, that sort of stuff. So you can think of it like clearing out some of this filler food and clearing out the food that tends to slow us down. A lot of times it's foods that we're addicted to. So we think, and I even said this, I very clearly remember being, addicted to my soy latte and clenching it. It was a ritual that I had with girlfriends where we would meet at the coffee shop and sit in the sunshine, and we had our soy latte, and I thought, I will never give up my soy latte. Never going to happen. So, stranger things have happened. So, yeah. but it's true. We're really attached to these things. And a lot of times, we're using caffeine in the morning to wake us up. And then after lunch, depending on what lunch is, we need a little pick me up. So we go for maybe another latte at Starbucks, or we go for something sweet. We hit the, candy bowl at the office, things like that. And then we get home, we're all freaking wound up. We've had stressful days. What do? We have wine, and we take the edge off, and we try to go now down the slope. So there's this roller coaster effect, and all day long, we're riding the roller coaster, and we're not actually creating our own energy. But when we remove those foods and those drinks and those, the caffeine and the alcohol from our system, we start to tap into our own resources for energy again. And that's one of those things that people say, once you get over the hump of going off caffeine, which is not easy, it does get easier. I don't know if you've had this experience. I feel like the more often that you do it, the easier it is.
Absolutely.
The first time is the hardest. But that's why we have a supported program, because we want to support people through, what to do, how to get over that hump. And then once you get over that hump, people are always amazed at how much energy they have.
Yes. Well, absolutely. And I did a cleanse I want to say it was January. I think it was January. I did a cleanse, did one of them. And literally I had 0 withdrawals. I went off coffee. It was like, I'm off coffee. Like it was no big deal. Because literally I have 1 cup. And so, what I did is just eat a piece of fruit, and then I get a little bit of a sugar, and it's done. And literally no withdrawals on anything. So it was great. And I felt amazing through the whole thing. And I think that's the important thing for people to know. I loved your point that if you can just get over the hump, like kind of give it, like I call it the 3-day hump, even though now I don't even have the 3-day hump, and then it's like, I remember just being like, wow, I feel like I could go out and run a mile. Like I just felt amazing. And I think you do feel amazing, and you realize how much crap was kind of in your body and slowing you down, and your mind is more clear. Like it's interesting. You really notice it. It's very powerful, I think.
Very powerful. And we should talk about sugar, because sugar
Yes.
is the other thing that we're super addicted to.
Yes.
And it's hidden in all sorts of different forms, whether it's, like the latte that I mentioned, or our breakfast oftentimes, even like our healthy, again, so-called healthy yogurt can be loaded with sugar. So we're also addicted to sugar, and that can just really wreak havoc on our moods,
Right.
our skin, our hormones. And hormones are everything.
Yes.
They affect everything, as we know.
Well, absolutely. Maybe that's a good segue to go into hormones, because I think you were talking about balance and getting off the treadmill. And, as women, especially as you start going through menopause and all these things, your body swells up, you can't sleep. I mean, it can be a little crazy to put it mildly. So let's talk about the effect of that on hormones and what you've seen and learned.
Yeah, so it's a lot of, really what we're talking about, the effect of the caffeine roller coaster, the sugar roller coaster, and then the alcohol, to take you down. It's disrupting our sleep. It's
Yes.
making us moody and cranky. It's causing our skin to age prematurely, which none of us like. And then there's all the other, side effects, whether it's PMS, where you're having, cramps and heavy cycles, or getting into this menopause range, which is in and of itself, a beast and like an unknown territory. But what we've seen is that we can shift our diet through these different stages of life. And this came up for both Joe and I after we had our kiddos, where you're totally hormonal, because all the hormones are, recalibrating to not being pregnant, and you're totally sleep deprived because you have a little one. And I had a serious addiction to, it doesn't sound that bad, but it was my version at that time. I already knew a lot of what I know now, which is that, sugar is bad, but I had a huge addiction to dried mango. And I was like, well, it's just dried mango, big deal. But the truth is it's a highly concentrated form of, a fruit. And so you're eating a bunch of dried mango. You could be eating like 3 mangoes and not even realize it, because it's, dried. Joe had a similar experience. Again, hormones all over the place, being totally sleep deprived. In her case, she wasn't able to release the weight. And so we have developed in our live program something called the low sugar plan. And that's where we really eliminate even all the natural sugars. So honey, for example, we'll have people who we've worked with who they might be drinking their herbal tea throughout the cleanse, but they're, loading it up with a tablespoon or 2 of honey.
Wow.
And so people, we had one person call that her HPV, which are, I'm sorry, her honey, her what was it? Her honey delivery vehicle. So whatever the acronym is, her HDV,
Yeah.
not HPV.
Isn't that like a sexually transmitted disease?
Not that. Not HPV.
Where is your mind? Where is
her
my mind?
her HPV.
Okay.
Her honey delivery vehicle. But so again, we're sneaking sugar in all sorts of different places. And this is one of those things that, we typically tell people to stair step their way off of things. Different personalities and different bodies respond differently. But with sugar, it is really important. I think you're more successful if you rip the Band-Aid off. Ditch sugar in all forms, honey, maple syrup included. Try to find other sweet alternatives, and focus on low glycemic fruits, things like the, berries or pear or an apple. And that becomes, once you eliminate all the other sweetness from your diet, that becomes sweet in of itself.
Yeah.
And this is what it does, in addition to reducing the sugar, we're adding in healthy fats. And the healthy fats are what is really going to help balance your blood sugar and, give you that glow that so many people are after. And that balances the blood sugar and in turn helps to balance the hormones.
So the fat part of it, I love that you brought that up, because the getting rid of sugar and then loading up on fats, the good fats. Okay. So maybe we need to talk a little bit about that, because this for me was such a godsend when I learned this. I learned this before I got into the conscious cleanse, but and started really loading up on fats, and my skin, just everything was like, wow. And amazingly, I lost weight because your body flows better. Like there's just all kinds of things associated with fats. It's a huge subject. So maybe we could just kind of encapsulate what you and Joe recommend as far as fats during the cleanse.
Yeah, right. There's this whole fat myth, right? I mentioned the 80s and the snack well and the whole fat-free craze.
Yeah.
And then, and then we went on a protein craze,
right.
And nobody's getting any healthier.
Right.
And so we're bringing fat back in the form of healthy fats. So we're talking about a high quality olive oil. So organic, cold pressed olive oil. We like to get olive oil that has an expiration date on it. So if you can get it fresh, that is best. Fresh from a farm in Greece or Italy it changes everything when you have a good olive oil.
It does. Yes, I have an olive oil. The brand is going to have to come to me here. I would love to plug for them, but I get it at the market, at the Boulder Market.
Oh, nice.
These tins like this big. And literally the first time I used it, I spilt a little on the counter, and I bent over and I licked it off the counter. And I was like, oh my God, Houston, we have a problem.
I knew I liked you because I would probably do the same thing. It's like gold.
I love it. It's so delicious. And now when I have a salad, I just take a little olive oil, put a little olive oil on it and some, what's this other like seaweed thing? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, I'm like,
Domasio or something.
Yeah, it's like, that's so freaking delicious. Like, why would I go to salad? Salad dressing to me is like nasty now. I love my olive oil. Anyway, I'm sorry to go out of that, but I just thought that was funny. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's the truth. When you're using a really high quality form of an olive oil, for example, you can keep it really simple. So my favorite salad dressing is a high quality olive oil, a squeeze of a lemon or a lime, and then Himalayan sea salt.
Yes. Yes.
The flavors just bring out everything. And then of course having, fresh food and fresh vegetables from the farmer's market is always a good way to go too. But other fats that we like are, of course, some of the other oils are fine. Like a coconut oil is really good.
Yeah.
Great for roasting your vegetables, great for sauteing your vegetables. We'll even put a tablespoon into the smoothie to get some extra healthy fat in the smoothie.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So olives, fresh olives are also one of my favorite snacks right now.
Yeah, I love olives. I have olive issues. I love them so much. Yeah.
Get them from the bar where they're fresh and then rinse them really well so they don't have all the salt and the sodium in them. But fresh olives are great. Avocado,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
So those are probably our top sources, of fats. Bone broth is another great thing. I'm kind of getting into like the collagen realm because my head is, I'm actually looking at the collagen that's sitting on my counter. Um, Butter coffee is kind of all the rage right now. So
Right.
even when we're not on the cleanse, a ghee or a grass-fed butter with some MCT oil, which is
Yep.
a medium triglyceride. Um, this is like really hot right now for women and hormones. It can really make a difference. So the intermittent fasting, letting your body really run on fat and your fat stores as opposed to the sugars that you're eating, that's how you're losing weight. That's
Yeah.
how you're revving up your metabolism and getting the results that you want.
Yeah.
So it's a real switch of how
Yeah.
we've normally thought about things.
Well, it is a switch. And what I notice is I actually eat a lot less because I'm drinking enough liquids, right? So my body is hydrated. And sometimes we feel hungry and it's not hunger. It's actually we need liquids. So I'm having more really good liquids. And then eating more fats, what I find is I'm not, like I can eat a salad for lunch and I don't get hungry. I mean, I'm fine until dinner. And at dinner, I just want a little bit. It's interesting. I look at how the quantity of food I eat now, and it's just so much less than I used to eat. And I'm not hungry and I don't run around thinking, oh, I got to lose weight. Like, it's not a negative. It's actually a real positive. And I really think a lot of that has to do with the more fats. So
it's more fat and it's looking at nutrient density. So this is
right.
something that we advocate a lot. And I mentioned before the foods that we keep off of our plate. I consider a lot of that to be filler food. So you think about how a lot of people will snack on popcorn or fat-free pretzels. Well, what kind of nutrients are you actually getting from that? What you're at, but when you compare that to like a handful or even a cup of wild blueberries or a big green smoothie or a gigantic, garden fresh salad, everything that are in those things I mentioned are things that your body can recognize in terms of ingredients and utilize, absorb, and assimilate. And then the result is that there's less toxic residue. So there's less for your body to filter out. The filler foods, your body is like, okay, I'll take a little bit of the nutrition from that, but most of it then is waste, and that has to then be processed and to leave the body. So the body's actually working. It's easier on the body when you're eating this nutrient dense, fresh food.
Oh, absolutely. And cutting those other things out, I think you crave them initially, but once you get that out, man, I can't even, I mean, now, I can't even hardly eat bad food. I mean, now and again, it's like, oh, gee, I really want like a croissant or something like that. Like I tend to really like those things, but otherwise it's like, I just don't crave it. I don't want it. So I think that's because your body tells you that's nasty. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point because I know when people are dealing with hormonal shifts and changes, and especially menopause, we can get intense cravings.
Yes.
So it's actually a really good conversation, I think, for us to talk about because what do you do when you do get a craving? So your body might want to go to like the old standby, which is a croissant, or what's another like a York peppermint patty if you're a candy person, like whatever your thing is. We like to look and say, well, how can I upgrade that choice? So to a more nutrient dense choice. So when I first started on this journey, my go-to dessert was this raw blueberry pie. And it literally had, the crust was made out of dates and walnuts, maybe a little bit of sea salt and vanilla. And then you take blueberries, blend them up with a little bit of honey or maple syrup, and you put that into your pie crust, put it in the refrigerator, and you've got the most nutrient dense dessert that you could have for breakfast and not feel bad about it. So it's finding good alternatives. Another thing I'm loving right now is a keto chia pudding, which is full fat canned coconut milk, chia seeds, cacao, which again is really nutrient dense, high in magnesium, really, really great. You put that in the refrigerator overnight and have that instead of a pudding, like a traditional pudding or a
Right.
yogurt. Again, it's nutrient dense. It's filling you up with all the right things,
Right.
and sort of satisfying the craving. So I'm a big believer in not, thinking that you have to abstain all the time, but find a healthier alternative because they're out there.
Well, I think that's really smart. And I think because I get, once a month, right, I get my craving and I typically want French fries. Like that's my once a month. I just want a big thing of French fries and tartar sauce and I want to roll around in it and I want I want to like stuff it in my eyeballs. And so finding something else that has that salt and fat, because really that's what that is, and something that's more, I haven't found my alternative. Usually I just resist, but I think it's a great idea to find something else, right?
Yeah, and there's also, one of the things we really talk about is living the 80/20.
Yeah,
And
I love
I
that.
would
That's a
say
great
that,
idea.
80% of the month you are eating a clean, nutrient dense diet. Having French fries once a month is not going to kill you.
Right.
So like I also have a French fry problem. Um, I don't think it really. I don't think it really can be chalked up to the hormones. I think it's just a problem.
It's just a problem. Yeah, yeah.
But like in the summertime when we vacation, I have French fries when we go
Yeah.
out to dinner, because I don't eat them all the time.
Right.
And I have it with a gigantic salad, and I enjoy them.
Yeah.
So I think it's also about finding, enjoying the food that you love, but in the right quantity, in the right frequency, and then surrounded by a ton of veggies.
Right. That's right. OD on the veggies. That's right. That's great. And yet that takes effort because you have to go buy them and the veggies are not ready made, right? Typically you have to like work with them a little bit, but I think it's so worth it. So let's move on to, I want to kind of hit exercise with this because I think I'm always trying to get my exercise in and get my, because I really love exercise. I'm one of these. But on the other hand, man, my schedule just gets so like, how this is. And on the cleanse, you don't really encourage a ton of exercise. So I kind of want to talk about that and exercise in general. But let's start with it during the cleanse.
Well, exercising on the cleanse is actually fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of athletes who will do our cleanse. We're Boulder-based company, so we have a lot of professional triathletes who come and do our program, um, and they do just fine. So you can eat for high intensity exercise on the conscious cleanse. There are 2 weekends during our program which are called purification, and this is a time of rest. So this is because we're going into a deeper cleansing and detox mode. It's actually optional for people, and we give people modifications so that if they do really want to actually do their workouts, that they can modify it in some ways. So yeah, you can actually work out when you're on the conscious cleanse. And I agree that I also love movement and I love regular exercise. I love being outside, and 2 kids, full-time work and business. It gets busy,
Yeah.
so it's also like finding ways to move your body that maybe don't feel like traditional exercise. So like a lot of my meetings now, they're on the trails. So when it's nice
Oh,
outside,
that's
I go
good.
for walks. And when I have phone calls, I try to be on a walk. If it's not a windy day, you can do that. So getting up from your desk and moving as much as possible is it's so key.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't know why I was under the impression. I think on the cleanse, I would just go for walks. That's what I did. I didn't really go because I like to run and lift weights. And I do a little yoga too. I know you're big into yoga. But that's good. Maybe I misread that, but that's great. I'll do more now.
Well, it is, it's also about tuning into your body.
Right.
So, exercise in the beginning, you were talking about that 3-day hump. And
Right.
a lot of times when we're not feeling well, the last thing we think that we don't necessarily feel inclined to go exercise, but it's actually one of the best things that we can do if we're feeling sluggish, if we have a headache, if we're feeling crummy and we're going through detox. Sweating getting your circulation moving and pumping will actually help you to release those toxins faster. So we actually tell people, go out, get some exercise, and see if that helps you get over the hump.
Good.
But it's also about tuning into your body. So, one of the parts, and you mentioned this before, one of the parts of the cleanse is slowing down.
Right.
And for some people, that might be tuning down their workouts a little bit so that they can, maybe use that time slightly differently. Whether it's to be more introspective or to chop veggies or, think about, their food and prepare their food. So that could be it too.
Well, one of the things I love about doing cleanses, and I think one of the reasons I'm so supportive of them is this in particular, is that it focuses you. So it focuses you, what am I eating today? What am I buying? You don't impulse buy at the store. You're like, okay, you're very deliberate, and you're very deliberate about if you're going to meditate, if you're going to exercise, what that's going to look like, and your time. And what I find when I'm on cleanses is that I'm so much more cognizant of how I'm living my life. And I find that I get actually more done. And it feels like, I've got to take all this time out to chop my veggies and make my smoothies and do my little, whatever. But actually what I find is I'm so much better. I'm so much more focused that actually I get more accomplished. So I think that's one of the things I love about it.
Well, it's interesting because we very easily get into a routine.
Yes.
Our habits can quickly become ruts, so you end up driving, you get up, you do the same route, this, that, and the other thing, you do the things in the same order, and then you get in the car and you drive to work the same way. And our food can become very much like that. It can be somewhat autopilot. And then it can turn into a rut, right? Where you're just like grabbing the stuff maybe from the office snack room, or you're grabbing the kids' snacks and just putting them in your mouth, not really thinking intentionally about it.
Right.
So yes, when you start a program like the Conscious Cleanse, you get focused and you get intentional and you think about what you're doing and why. And I think the why, I know for me, it's really important to really hone in, like, why am I doing this for myself? And it's not just weight loss. Weight loss is great. And what will weight loss give me? And we take people through this process of, like, if I lose some weight, I'm going to feel good in my skin. And that's great too. But what will feeling good in my skin give me? And we encourage people to keep going like that. And a lot of times it's much deeper and it's much more powerful to think about, like, when I am putting good food in my body, I love myself. Like, this is a form of self-love.
Yes.
And that's the most pure motivation that you need.
Yeah.
And then if you can continue to tap into that, it's amazing how it can keep you going. And it's not so superficial.
Right.
I think and superficial meaning like that top layer, which can wear off.
Yes.
You get like, okay, well, I'm at my great weight now, and now I'm going to go out and have some more French fries. Right?
Yeah. Speaking of French fries,
my skinny jeans, let's go out for ice cream.
So if you see me at Lark Burger with a big thing of French fries, you can go, Zed, stop. No. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think one of the great things that you guys have is you have a great platform for women to connect and encourage each other and help with that kind of self-love. Because women, we do really well with other women, and women encouraging each other. I think I love that about my friends, is that there's just such an energy of love, acceptance, encouragement, and you provide that. So maybe you could explain, because I know you've done some big changes to your platform and added more stuff in, and so maybe we could kind of go there a little bit and talk about how women can join and be a part of that. So.
Oh, well, thank you. Community is a really big part of what we're doing, because we feel so strongly that this is not just 2 weeks and done. This is about learning healthy habits that stick, creating long-term sustainable changes. And sometimes your immediate family and the people in your current surroundings, maybe they're not doing that, and maybe they're not on board with that. So it's nice to have your people who you can go to for inspiration, for support, for questions. And so So yeah, our business has always been built around that. We have a very lively and robust Facebook group, closed Facebook group for our live cleanses. And actually we're in the process of switching over to a new business model, which will be um, an on-demand version of our conscious cleanse, and you'll be able to start it anytime you want, which is going to be really great for people. You can start it with a group of 10 of your closest friends. You can start it with 20 people in the office. You can start it with your gym, with your yoga studio. We'll still continue to have cleanse start dates, and we'll bring together people for the hot periods, the hot times like spring. We just had a very lively spring cleanse because tis the season. Yeah. As everything is blooming and we're letting go of the winter and the dust and shaking that all off. So our new platform will probably be coming out in the fall, and it really brings together the year-round support. And it's about having access to our team of health coaches. I like to say it's like having a health coach in your pocket because it will be very mobile friendly. So if you're at the grocery store and you're looking like, wow, should I buy, this coconut milk or this coconut milk, you can, reach out to a health coach and find out, what's the best brand, as an example. It's also going to be really still incorporate a lot of the community. It'll have a meal planner in it, which is key for helping us to stay focused. You were talking about how we start cleanses and we get really intentional about what we're going to eat. Sometimes, if you go off the cleanse and you're like, what am I doing? You feel a little lost in space. The new platform with the meal planner will allow you to stay on that path, to stay with the roadmap, with the guidance and with the directions, and then with those tools to help you be like, okay, this is what I'm eating. This is all really good food. If you stick to the plan, you're in good shape.
Awesome. Maybe you could just share, because I'm debating which way to go here. I think maybe share a little bit more about what's available on the website, because we talked earlier about that. So what else is available so they can join this platform? They can interact with other people. They have a lot of things. What are the things that you have going on the website you want to talk about?
Well, we've got a ton of recipes on our website. I think that's one of the things that we absolutely love doing is recipe development and upgrading some of those less than healthy favorites to something that's a little bit healthier. So we have a lot of recipes that not only fall within the cleanse, but also the 80-20. So you'll find like our our almond chocolate chip cookies up there, and the raw blueberry pie, I think, is up there that I talked about. Right now we've actually put together a guide, and it's called our summer skincare guide. So it's basically a download that you can go to our website and get, and it's basically a compilation of all of our favorite products that help you get the glow, because eating healthy and what you put in your body nutritionally is really important, but it's also, once you start doing that, you start thinking about the other areas of your life, and what you're putting on your skin every day is a really big piece. And as we're coming into the summer, for example, we're going to be slathering ourselves with sunscreen, and you want to make sure that you're using really high quality products and taking care of your skin just as much as you're taking care of your insides. So people can go download that free skincare guide, and I'll make sure that I give you the link and people can check it out. It has some of our favorite products in it.
That's great. That'll be in the credits down below from the video on YouTube, and then in my website as well, which will have full details and links and everything for the audience. So this has been great. I just want to hear maybe like one or two success stories, like just people that came to you and did the cleanse and were like, oh my God, like maybe couple just quick, maybe more on the dramatic side of people who really were able to resolve some issues.
I like to think about this one woman. Her name is Wendy. Actually, there's two Wendys that I'm thinking of. So I'll start with the first Wendy, who was dealing with rosacea her whole entire life. So that's like a skin disorder, yeah. And it was really, really red on her cheeks. And she went on the cleanse, and she had been to all the dermatologists. She had tried all the medication. Finally, she came to the conscious cleanse. Her rosacea cleared up. She went off the conscious cleanse and put back in a staple, which was a staple in her diet prior. And she realized, like the simple snack that she was having was dipping the spoon into the peanut butter jar. That is what was causing the rosacea. So a lot of the success stories that we have, which you can read a lot of them on our website as well, have to do with people uncovering food sensitivities, food allergies. Oftentimes, the foods that are causing our major health problems or complaints, and they don't have to be as maybe even as extreme. For me, it was gas and bloating. Not overly extreme, right? But it was still like, it made me uncomfortable a lot. So a lot of times it's the food that's, we're putting in our mouth every single day. And I'm always surprised, to find that out. So for that, Wendy, it was the, discovery that it was peanuts. And we have another story that I like to talk about is people who have done food testing at the end of our program and realized that, they had allergy tests that came back inconclusive. They had coughing and sneezing and seasonal allergies that they thought were just normal seasonal allergies. A lot of times it would roll into bronchitis or something like that. And we have this one woman who, at the end of our program, she tested milk. And at first she felt like, oh, this is what I was missing. My body was craving this. I love cheese. I love milk. And my body is so happy. And a couple hours later, her sinuses got all swollen. Her nose started running. She had to clear her throat a lot. So she got all mucousy and congested. But at first, her body, was telling her like, oh, yes, thank you. This is exactly what I needed. So I love that story because it really illustrates, one, that a lot of times our allergy tests are inconclusive. And that, two, sometimes our initial symptoms or our initial reactions aren't 100%.
Right.
So the food allergy, I think, it's one of the most, I think it's the crux of the cleanse for many people of the whole process, because you start realizing, what the food that you're putting in your body that might be sabotaging your health. And that's a game changer. I know it was for me, like getting rid of soy and dairy. Right. I was really into dairy as well. Big game changers for me.
Well, I completely agree with you. And I think I've shared this with you before, but I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And that was diagnosed like 10 years ago. And when I started doing the cleanse, this cleanse like pretty much eradicated it. And I went, oh, like that, like what I realized is I do need a little bit of carb, like a little bit of non-gluten grain, like quinoa or something, but just in a really super small amount. And then I can eat like almost everything else on the cleanse. And it's kind of crazy. Like it pretty much cleared up. And when I deviate, like I go on and like I can eat the French fries crazy, crazy enough on the IBS. But my IBS is like, I would say 99% gone. Now and again, I'll have a reaction. Like if I go eat out, because I don't know what oils they're using. So stuff like that messes me up. And so there's very particular restaurants like Lark Burger, that I go to, that I go, yeah, I know I can eat this, so, but when I cook, I know exactly what it is, which people with IBS, it always feels like such a crapshoot. Like, well, if I eat this, is it going to kill me? But now I'm very clear. And I think that's a huge, huge, huge bonus for this.
That's amazing. I mean, we'll have to talk about healing the gut and eating a healthy diet and what it can do for your gut next time.
Yeah, that's it. That's another interview, but that's a great subject. That's a huge subject for me. Obviously, that's, I've done a lot of work around that. So let's do that. So, well, thank you so much for coming on, Jules. It's so great to talk to you. And I want to encourage everyone to go to your website. It's consciouscleanse.com, right? And then also get the book, get the Conscious Cleanse book. I love this. It's actually on my nightstand, which is kind of a crazy thing, but because it has recipes in it and I've tried a lot of them, I really like them. And it gives me other ideas. I love tea. Well, what's a good tea? And I'll go, let's just try that. So anyway, thank you for writing the book. Thank you for doing this. It's great to talk to you. And, and the audience, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Please comment in the comment section down below, ask questions. I will definitely put you in contact with Conscious Cleanse to answer any questions you might have that I can't answer. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, Suzanne. Thanks for having
Bye.
me.